I'm Ellen Redman, and I play piccolo in the Springfield Symphony. I also play third flute sometimes, and I am also the personnel manager. This is my 29th season with the Springfield Symphony. My audition for the symphony is kind of a funny story. I came up and I was auditioning on piccolo, and at the time, back in 1985, they were doing a lot of construction in downtown Springfield, and there was some machine outside that was just pounding away in a very steady rhythm. And in my audition, I was playing the solo at the end of Beethoven Ninth Symphony, which is supposed to mimic a band coming from a distance, and the piccolo and a big bass drum. Well, unfortunately, this machine was not pounding at the same rate as the tempo that I needed for this excerpt to play on the audition. So I had to come up with my own tempo and try and block that out as I was playing. And I was told later, after I got the job, that one of the things that impressed the committee so much was that I was able to keep a steady tempo even with this other sound beating so loudly outside. It's been a wonderful experience, and I have many, many close friends in the symphony. The symphony has really become like an extended family to me. A lot of us are very close. We look forward to seeing each other. Many orchestras are not quite so close, and I feel like the Springfield Symphony in particular is really much more connected to each other. A great thing in my life to have so many wonderful friends that I get to work with on a regular basis. I started playing music in elementary school when we were given an opportunity to choose an instrument and learn how to play it in school. Fourth or fifth grade, we got to pick an instrument, and I picked the flute because my next door neighbor played the flute. No other reason. I've just figured if she can do it, I can do it. So I borrowed a flute from the school, and on the book that we were given, it said, "A tune a day for flute and piccolo." And I asked the teacher, "What is a piccolo?" And she told me and showed me a picture, and I thought that was the most adorable thing I had ever seen in my life, and I wanted to play it. So I actually owned a piccolo before I ever owned a flute. We went out and we rented a piccolo, and I began playing it in sixth grade. And it wasn't until I got into junior high that the band director there said, "Oh, by the way, you really need to be playing flute as well as piccolo." And so I begrudgingly got another flute. I got a flute and started playing that as well. So I've always loved the piccolo, and some flute players just only tolerate it as something they need to do, but I've always really enjoyed playing it. And I love playing it in the symphony. In an orchestra, it's great because it's such a tiny instrument, but every note you play can be heard. I started as personnel manager about 3 or 4 years ago when our previous personnel manager, Warren Myers, retired. He had been personnel manager forever and had created quite a legacy. So I had big shoes to step into. I enjoy that work a lot. It's fun working with Kevin in that respect, putting together an orchestra. It's my job to make sure all the seats in the orchestra are full of good musicians. So when our contracted members are not able to play a particular service, or we require more instruments than we normally have contracted, it's my job to find players to step in. And I enjoy working with Kevin because I feel like he's a very nice person to work for. He's always, got a smile, and he picks some very exciting programming, some unusual things sometimes. And as a piccolo player, I'll just say here and now, we don't need to do Tchaikovsky's Fourth Symphony again. That's a nasty little piece for a piccolo player. When I'm not playing in the orchestra or contacting players to play in the orchestra, I also teach at Smith College, where I also conduct the wind ensemble, and I direct a group called the Wailing Banshees, which is a group of students that play Irish, Scottish, Celtic music. I got into playing Irish music about just almost 10 years ago now, and I find that it has really filled a void in my musical experience, something that I didn't even realize was missing at the time once I started playing. It's such an elemental, folksy, if you will, kind of approach to music where you're playing tunes that are handed down from generation to generation. usually learning them by ear, so there's no printed music. You're continually playing from memory. There's no printed music. It is so different from playing in a symphony. You're quite often playing in bars with a drink in front of you, something we could maybe try in the symphony. It's lovely, lively, happy music, dance music, and it's become a really big part of my life. I play in an Irish band with a banjo player and a guitar player, and we've made a CD. We're working on a second CD. We play around the area from time to time, and it has just become a passion of mine. I really enjoy it. I also breed and show champion border terriers, and I'm an avid, when I have time for it, avid knitter and weaver. And I pretty much don't have time for anything else.